And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at a game called Beez. That's Beez with a Z. This is from Plan B Games from their line Next Move, where every game in that line has 4 letters. Now this line has one of the most popular board games ever designed, Azul, and its sequels, and we have Reef, and now we have Beez. Now this is about flying a bee around and collecting nectar. For some reason, the Beez theme seems to be really popular this year. I think this is the 6th bee game that I've seen. This is an abstract game where you're flying your bee around, collecting pollen, and scoring in multiple ways. It's a pretty quick game, plays up to 4 players, and here's how. At the beginning of the game, you're going to be placing out the different tiles here, somewhat randomly, but you'll have 1 of every color in the first ring and 2 of every color in the outside ring, and you can't put the same colors next to each other. But, after you play the base game, if you want to, the rule book, you can make all sorts of setups with these. There's 3 scoring cards. There's piles of scoring cards with 3 different color lids. You're going to draw 1 randomly of each color and place them here. Everybody will score those. Then everybody will draw 1 card of each of the types, and you're going to pick 2 of them to be your own personal scoring cards for that game. Each player is going to have a bee placed in the middle, and each player is going to take basically a honey pot here where you'll be storing your honey. On a player's turn, and you'll take turns going around the table until someone has collected enough nectar, you're going to take your bee and you're going to move it. Now, if we take a look at each of the bees, you'll notice that there are numbers on the base of the bee. There is this sign here, which means a bee can never fly forward. It's always going to turn and then move forward. So it can turn 1 space to the right or left, and then it will move 1 or 5 spaces. It can turn 2 spaces to the right or left and move 2 or 4, or it can turn completely around and move 3. So for example, this bee right now can turn and go 1. It could turn and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. It could turn this direction and go 1 or 5. It could turn this direction. It could fly over another bee. You just can't land on top of 1 and go 2 or 4, and same way the other way. Or it could turn completely around and go 1, 2, 3 like this. Now, when you're done moving, if you're on a space that's next to a small nectar, you're going to take that nectar. If you land on a big nectar, you're going to take that big nectar and one of the small nectars that's next to it. Now, when you take these nectars, you're going to be placing them on your board. And where you place the nectars, basically how far you moved. Did you move only 1 spot? Then you'll put the nectar in one of those spaces. If I move 4, I'll put the nectar in here. Now, in the advanced version of the game, you always have to put nectar adjacent to each other. But in the basic version, you can put it anywhere. But both ones, it still has to go the number that you moved. And if you don't have any spots where you move, then you can't collect that nectar. As you collect each nectar, you're going to move this over here at the top, and when someone gets all the way to the end, that's going to trigger the end of the game, and then players are going to score. Now, the only other thing about this is when moving, these leaves don't really give you anything, but if you end your turn on a water droplet, you get to go again. So you can kind of bounce off one. If I was here, for example, I might turn, go to this spot, and then turn and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Learning how to bounce off that and get onto something else. Once it's done, everyone's simply going to look at the scoring cards. Now, there's all kinds of scoring cards. The pink ones are usually going to give you per color. 2 for every pink nectar, 2 for every blue nectar, or this one, 2 for each different color of nectar. This one here, the blue ones, 4 for every 3 nectar in one color arranged as a bow. So that would look on the board. And for each scoring card, you can only use each nectar once. So in that case, let's say I had these 3 blue nectar here arranged like a bow, and this here, I could only score each of these once for that, so I couldn't say there's 2 bows. But I could have 2 bows, maybe have another orange bow here or something. And then the other one here, 7 honey drops if you put nectar in all 5 chambers of the one row. and 12 if you do that, and they're all a different color. And so the orange ones are usually like that, where they give you 7 if you fill up a certain section on the board, and then more points if it's in all the different colors or something like that. This one here, 7 if you fill in one row, and 12 if you fill in both rows. And then you'll simply add up all the points on the scoring sheet. You'll add up the 1 for each public objective, and then for your 2 private objectives, you'll score them, and whoever has the most points is the winner. As always, anything from Plan B at this point is superbly crafted. There's an insert here where you can place all the different pollens. You got spots for the small and for the big. There's a little plastic thing here which will hold the bees. And it's just all really nice. I mean, these bees are fantastic. I thought maybe these wings would be fragile. They're not. And you can see the numbers on the sides of these. They really look good. The tiles themselves are really clear. It's not only can you see what the flowers, they look different, but they're also the different colors. You'll be putting a different color nectar for the middle of the flower, and then the 3 orange on the outside. The inner ring only gets these 3 nectar there, the pollen. The cards are okay quality. They could have been better quality, but they look good enough. They're functional. The boards, on the other hand, these things are amazing. It's a little hard to tell here, but they're actually triple layered. See there? You can see there's a layer if you put the big one in and then something to put the small one in, and that's really fascinating. These are really, really great. The best part of this production. Overall, like I said, just a really good production. As I said, Beez is a fairly quick game. I mean, you're only collecting 12 nectar and it's over. And it just moves like that. Now, you might think that people could choke up, right? Take a while on their turn. But you only have 9 ways to move. You're going to move and go 1-5-1-5, 2-4-2-4, or 3. And you can quickly count those moves out and say, okay, this one gives me 1 nectar, this gives me 2. This gives me the nectar of this color, which I'm trying to get, and I'm putting it here. And so there is some thought to it. Don't get me wrong, you're just not blindly moving. And you could drag it out, I suppose. But since you can move to a spot and then think where you move next and then think where you move from that. I mean, there's no luck in the game, really. But you also don't know what your opponents are going to do. And you're also kind of on that point, I think you're ruining the game for everyone else involved. So I don't think that's a problem. I haven't run into it yet. So I like the concept of it. It's a robo-rally, a programming movement style game, but everyone else sees where everybody else is going. And there's you're jumping around gathering nectar, and at the beginning of the game, you're likely not even in each other's faces, but after a while you likely will be, because there will be less nectar on the board. You're also trying to finish as quickly as possible. Finishing quickly helps you because you stop everyone else from getting nectar. So getting nectar every turn is not a bad idea, but getting nectar every turn that doesn't help you for your scoring cards is a bad idea. And so everyone's competing for the same public objectives, and so if blue nectar gives 2 points, you know that maybe blue nectar, your card also gives you 2 points for yellow, but taking blue is inherently better because not only am I taking that for myself, but I'm taking one that you could have gotten. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not a game I think of as super deep strategy, but it's a game that feels like it has super deep strategy, but light enough that it fits the audience of next move. This is not the next Azul. Azul is a game on another platform that's sold, almost 1 million copies at this point, and people love that game. Beez is good. Not everyone I played it with liked it. Some people found it to just be boring moving the bees around. I personally was entertained by that. I like the idea of moving around. I like the speed of it. It's the kind of game you can play and go, let's try it again, and immediately set it up and play it again. And so, yes, it's abstracted. I don't know that I come out of this feeling like a bee. I like the basic rules, being able to put the nectar wherever you want because you get better scores that way, and it feels, it just has a bit more satisfying feel when you can score like that. And even the basic setup of the tiles is fine, although the other tiles are neat to see. But it's going to feel, from game to game, whether you play advanced rules or basic rules, that's going to feel the same. The difference is the scoring cards. And games that give you a variety of scoring cards are games that I tend to enjoy because they make you play each game in a slightly different way. So, not for everybody, but one that I liked. That's Beez. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time. Dice Tower judgment approved.